After a little bit of a late night in Inverness, I headed out on the first leg of the NC 500. Well, after getting turned around for a little while and going in the completely wrong direction for half an hour. At this point in my trip, I was trying to figure out whether my planned pace was feasible, so my plan for the afternoon was to make it to the signpost in John O'Groats. Technically, the signpost isn't the northernmost point of the mainland UK, that honour belongs to the lighthouse at Dunnet Head, but it's still an iconic location that I wanted to stop by. Since I'm going to be talking about it a lot, I think it's best that I briefly mention what the NC 500 actually is. This is the North Coast 500, a scenic route through the Highlands of Scotland. As the name would suggest, it follows the North Coast for 500 miles. Quick spoiler alert, I absolutely loved the NC 500. If you have the opportunity to go, I would highly recommend that you take it. I was very fortunate that most of my stretch along the NC 500 was much like this morning. It was warm, it was sunny, it wasn't too windy, and there was very little traffic. So I was able to really relax and enjoy the experience. This was one of my favourite corners of the afternoon. I really managed to get a good lean in on it. If you're a rider, you know what I'm talking about. You know when you found the perfect line. But not long after that, I found myself stuck behind this truck for quite a while. Which is such a shame. This was a really nice stretch, so I wish I'd been able to cut loose a little. But that's how it goes. Other people use the roads too. At this point, I was about an hour out from John O'Groats. It was getting steadily cooler and windier as I headed north as the Highlands stopped protecting me from the wind so much. So the last little stretch before the signpost was a little bit uncomfortable. But John O'Groats led me to one of the more interesting parts of my trip. Before I left Inverness this morning, I got chatting to Gregory. He was staying in the same hostel and also planning to ride the NC 500. In the same direction as me, no less. I didn't see him when I pulled up to John O'Groats either, but after some stretches and a little snack, I actually met Roshan, and we chatted for a little bit. He was also doing the NC 500 in the same direction as me, on the Yamaha R7, which is a comparable model to my CBR, which I thought was a funny coincidence to meet two other people going the same way on bikes in the same day. And then just as we were getting ready to leave, who should roll up but Gregory? So we all headed out together. We met up a few more times over the next few days, which really helped me get through this stretch of the trip. As much as I enjoyed the solitude of the NC 500, it was really nice to have other people around who knew the challenge I was going through. Roshan was the first to stop for the day, but I split off from Gregory about half an hour later. I wanted to ride up by Skerry because I'd heard the road there was a very nice loop, whereas he was taking a more direct route. But I'm glad I took that detour. It felt very quintessentially Scottish. Sheep everywhere, and it was a bit bumpy, but the Highlands can be stunning when the evening light strikes them in the right way. In fact, I'm happy to let the rest of the footage speak for itself. I know I said I'd let the footage speak for itself, but I had to comment on this one. I was still irritated by that sheep that darted out in front of me in the North York moors, so ref-bombing these sheep off the road was the exact sort of revenge I needed.